Hi everyone, welcome in. We're Margin Mavens. This is our second episode of our podcast, and we are talking about Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Chalice of the Gods. I'm Steph, she's Kayla, and we hope you enjoy the rest of this video. Okay, I think I'd like to start it by saying it was really nice to read a new Percy Jackson story.
It was.
I think a lot of the points that I gave this book in a positive way were like nostalgia based. Like I think I was like, oh my god, like they're referencing all of these things that they did, like quests that they went on, adventures they did, whatever. And it was really cool to get those little, like, not Easter eggs, I wouldn't say, because they're not like hidden. But you got these little like nods to the past that I really appreciated as a older Percy Jackson fan.
I like the little every mention, like, oh yeah, I remember reading that. Oh yeah, I read that. Yeah, I remember reading that.
Yeah, I think that was really fun. First and foremost, I think the premise that he still needs recommendation letters to get into this college is messed up. I think it's bullying. I think I get it because they needed to have content, right? But a part of me I think would have been okay with this next book being him in college.
Yeah.
And trying to deal with that.
Right.
I think
that's
the idea,
a whole nother like quote unquote quest in of itself is navigating college as a young adult and recognizing that you are older and
have like all these powers and stuff, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I just noticed that the dedication is to Walker, Arian, and Leah, which are the actors in the Percy Jackson show, and I think that's really cool.
That's cute. I do like that.
Yeah, I think it was a fun read. It was a very quick read. I think I finished it in like a couple hours.
Same.
I think my biggest, I don't want to say a gripe, but what really threw me off is that throughout the books, like throughout the original series and even the like Heroes of Olympus series, there's a very common theme of how the aging works.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like every book they're a year older, whatever. It threw me off a little bit when we start this book and he's like a senior in high school.
Yes.
Because he's like talking about all of these like old, there's a specific part where he says like, oh, these like millennials. And I'm like, well, Percy, like your books, like you are not an 18-year-old in my head because of the like timing of all the books. But I think that was like the biggest thing, but it's not really like a big deal because I understand why, but I think it would have been a lot more interesting if Percy was older in this.
Did you read the Trials of Apollo series by any chance?
No.
Okay.
I've only read, in terms of Rick, I've only read the original Percy, Heroes of Olympus a couple times, and then I've read the first book of the Magnus Chase series.
Okay.
It is my goal eventually to read all of Rick's books. There's just a lot. But
not a lot, yeah.
I don't know. I think I really like the fact that they were kind of breaking the fourth wall in some of their nostalgia. Like Grover was really happy on the idea of going on a quest because they hadn't gone on one, just the three of them, you know, since basically the beginning. I liked seeing Annabeth. She's my favorite character, so I liked seeing her.
I love Annabeth.
Yeah, I liked seeing her, and I liked that she was like, oh yeah, we'll figure this out together kind of thing. I think they're like from my memory, right? I think they're like the healthiest relationship that I saw in like media growing up, and specifically books, but like their relationship has always been one that I'm like, yeah, that's like really cool. Like they started off as like genuine friends And then they got to the point where, you know, obviously they had feelings and stuff like that. But then once they got together, right? Like their relationship has been really solid and smooth. There hasn't been any like they'd never like as far as I'm aware, right? The media that I've consumed with them, it's not like they've gone on like breaks and they haven't had like nasty breakups and they've been like consistently together.
Correct.
Apart from the like year obviously where Percy had his memories taken. But even then, I like that it was like a note of the only thing that he remembered was the fact that like an Annabeth existed.
Yes.
You know, he was like, I have no idea who she is, but I remember her. She's important to me. And that is something that I thought was really cool. So I know that there's going to be
further proof that friends to lovers is the superior trope.
I know. We always circle back to this. I think enemies to lovers is really fun. I think you can, but I've never been good, specifically with enemies to lovers. I don't end up enjoying when they are like it tends to be the guy, right? I don't enjoy when the guy is like cruel and then grows to love the person.
Yeah.
Which I think is obviously a big trope within enemies to lovers. I like the not enemies to lovers, but they still call it enemies to lovers, where they're supposed to hate each other, but they're like never actually really mean to each other.
I just love when the guy is a puppy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just a little smitten puppy.
Yeah, I like that Percy has always been very like Annabeth is the one for me. You know, like even in that little stint that they had with like Rachel.
Yeah.
Like
it was never a question.
It was never a question of being like, oh crap, like here comes somebody else. I think that the hate that Rachel gets within the fandom is really dumb. Because like she didn't do nothing. You know, I think she is in a position that a lot of young girls would have been if they met a Percy Jackson in the wild. You know, like he is in the eyes of everyone but him, literally like a Greek god amongst men. You know, like you can't blame the girl for having a crush on him.
Right. Plus also that's part of like for the most part, it's part of growing up. Like it's part of being that age, being a teenager.
I'm like, you get crushes on people and then you're like, okay, that didn't work out, and then you move on.
Yeah.
You know, let the girl move on. I liked seeing the little like relationship drama that Grover was having.
Yeah.
Where he was just like oblivious to like how this could upset his girlfriend.
And I was sitting there like, oh my God, please.
Yeah. I was like, wait,
please.
What did you do, bro? And then when we found out, I was like, okay. She's gonna be upset at you now. What do you mean? So I like that Percy, despite being like the oblivious ADHD kid, he was like, hey bud, hate to tell you, this is where you messed up.
Yeah, that's not great, bro. Can you please
go fix this?
Go fix this. Go fix it real quick. Doesn't have to be anything big. Doesn't have to be anything major. Just fix it.
Yeah. A really sweet moment that I liked in the book was when Athena herself helped like cover for him.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought that was really cute because
like, is that her way of like approving?
Yeah, is that her little stamp of approval that he's been like trying hard to get forever? I think that like it was really cute. I think Annabeth realizing what that meant was really cute. I'm interested to see what they do with the next 2 books because he obviously still has to get 2 other letters of recommendation. So that's kind of cool in terms of like, oh, I want to see who else he ends up like getting wrapped into adventures. I kind of hope the other books have a little bit more substance. I want them to be not necessarily like as deep or as cataclysmic as like House of Hades or anything like that, but I want them to like, I want me to have to pay attention a little more. You know, I think this was a really good, like, you said it off off recording, but I think this was a really good book for like vibes and just kind of like coming back into the world.
Yeah.
But I want the other quests to be a little bit more depth to them. I want it to be a little bit more like interesting to read, but I do think that there are good lessons to learn in what he went through here. Like I liked specifically the spot when he was fighting like old age.
Yes.
Like I thought that was really nice and telling and made sense because I think that's an important lesson to learn. But yeah, I want like more, I just want more. I think it was kind of cool in the fact that like Percy Jackson as a series started because they thought he stole the lightning bolt. And so then this tertiary series, or I don't know if it'd be the fourth one because I don't know if Apollo follows the whatever. I like that this one is like the cupbearer of Zeus has lost something.
Yes.
So I do like the little bit of parallels there. I'm kind of interested to see if that'll follow like the rest of the books.
And see, I'm different. I like that it's quick and simple, and maybe it's because I have read Trials of Apollo. Like I've read that whole series already, and like this was just like a nice little palate cleanser, like beforehand.
Is Trials of Apollo painful?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was.
How many books is that? I'm trying to do girl math in my head.
4?
Okay. I could do that.
Upper inflection, because I don't remember. It's 4 or 5, I think. So like the timeline, like if I recall correctly, because it's been a hot minute. Trials of Apollo sort of takes place after this because I was confused in the beginning of the book, like where the fuck he hasn't talked about his sibling yet, and I was like, why hasn't he?
Oh yeah, because that's what confused me because I knew that he had a sibling. Because obviously, I guess, like, after Trials of Apollo, everybody was talking about the sibling, and there would be headcanons and, like, all of these things. Mm-hmm. And so I genuinely forgot that the sibling didn't already exist.
Yes.
Within this world. So, no, I definitely have to read Trials of Apollo now. Damn.
Yes. It's just, and Trials of Apollo is really good. It's a really good story. Like...
So they're older in Trials of Apollo.
But they are a little older, yes.
Okay, so what I'm saying that I want is in Trials of Apollo.
Trials of Apollo.
Gotcha.
Yes. So these are just fun and cutesy, like, in-betweens.
Yeah,
like, and
almost
I
novellas.
like that. Yeah. Like, this is what Percy and the gang were up to before you see them again in Trials of Apollo. Because in terms of publication date, Trials of Apollo came out before this one. So, like, reading that and getting, like, the little itty-bitty taste of, like, what Percy was up to was really, really fun.
Gotcha. Okay.
But, like, so, like, being able to see what Percy was actually up to while Apollo was going through XYZ was really fun.
Maybe that's why in this, like, little paper... okay, that makes more sense now. Because, okay... So for our listeners, I got the like Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of Chalice of the Gods. So in the back, it has like a paper that's recommendation letters for Percy Jackson. And I was confused. I was just telling Kayla, like, it didn't make sense because the 3 that we see aren't any that like get mentioned within the story. But there is one from Apollo that's the biggest one, right? And now it makes more sense because at the bottom it says... Like, anyways, gotta run. Zeus apparently wants to speak with me about something of critical importance. I'm sure it's nothing serious. And so I guess that, like, is leading into whatever goes on in Trials of Apollo. Knowing me, I will probably, the moment that we're done recording this, go onto Amazon and order the 4 books.
Yeah. Guess 4 books.
Yeah. I know that we were talking about it, but let's see. We tentatively, right, are going to plan to reread the Percy Jackson series. So with that in mind, do we want to reread the Percy Jackson and then follow that with Heroes of Olympus and then Trials of Apollo?
Could. 100%.
Yeah, because I think listeners will probably just have you a part of this discussion so you guys can kind of give us your opinion. But I think like the Percy Jackson books, we could probably do that series. Don't hold us to it, but because those books are pretty short, we can probably do those series of videos as like in one video we talk about 2 books. Does that make sense? Or do we want to keep it to where the format is 1 book per video?
Well, or counterpoint,
Mm-hmm.
we could do like an extra long video about like the first 5 books
Gotcha.
and
So
like
like the
have
original
that.
series.
Yeah, the original series, and then when they're, older teens, and then like all of that. Because it
Yeah.
all sort of.
Because I think we could get away with doing all of them together for the original series because it goes by pretty like quick and it's all like in rapid succession.
Mhm.
But then just from my memory, I think we would probably go from like one big episode to like the normal length episodes for like each of the Heroes of Olympus because a lot more happens in that one.
Correct.
And then I don't know how about Trials of Apollo, but it'll probably be the same thing where like one video per book.
It could, yeah, it could be 1 video per book for sure.
And then we'll probably have that be a don't know if those will be like the main focus videos for the month or like a supplement thing because we'll probably be reading those since they're going to be rereads for us.
Right.
Um but we're going to figure that out. Overall, I rated it 5 stars, but I know a lot of that was just from like being such a big fan. And it
Right. It
didn't
was
there
the
was nothing
nostalgia.
yeah, there was nothing like wrong with it. Like there was nothing that like made me take points off of it. So I was like, okay, not necessarily my favorite book of the month by far,
Same.
but it was a good book that I enjoyed reading. And what more can we ask, you know?
It was a nice, fun, quick little read. Gave me something to do when I needed something to do
Mm-hmm.
to kill some time. And that was it. It, nice little callbacks to the previous books,
Mm-hmm.
and still the same sort of Percy Jackson humor that is in
Yeah, that's like
all
pretty
of.
like quintessential.
Yes, that is his brand. We'll say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't anything groundbreaking plot wise. And it's a shame that Percy has to get
Yeah, I think it's
recommendation letters.
bullying.
It is. Just let him in.
I'm like, just let him in. Let him
Just
walk
let him
into the
in.
admission office and be like, "Hi, I'm Percy Jackson." And they're like, "Okay, cool. Here you go. Here's your little
Yeah.
packet."
Yeah.
This
Here
man
you
has done
go.
enough. He is tired.
He is. He just wants to be, just wants to be a teenager.
Let him be a teen, you know?
Let him be a kid. That was our insight and opinions on The Chalice of the Gods by Rick Riordan. We will be sharing more thoughts over on our Patreon, so be sure to keep an eye out on that. Next up will be A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. Until next time, thank you for listening, and if no one has told you this today, you are loved and you matter.